Hey guys, hey everyone, it's Raychich, and I said before that I wanted to make Zero to Hero Ice Shot project, so yeah, in this video I wanna show you my 15 Divines Ice Shot build, which is really cheap for that amount of damage, amazing clear speed and also good bossing. So my character is level 86 right now and I can farm juicy tier 15 breach maps, kill 82 level Exhaust, Uber Pinnacle boss, Uber Trial Master, so I mean anyone in this game. In this video I will tell you everything you need to start playing this build, so passive tree, items, skill gems, jewels, leveling and etc. So you will be fine. Before I start, don't forget to like this video, subscribe my channel, and actually it's very important, follow my Twitch because there will be progressing this build live. And yeah, I guess we're fine and we can start. So here's me in my hideout. My character is level 86, as I said before. I capped all of my elemental resistances. I have 27% chaos rest, but if you will invest a little bit more in your items, you will have more chaos rest, but it is actually fine even with this amount. About my life, I have almost 2000 of my life and almost 1000 of my energy shield. So about my build overview, how to fight in maps is actually pretty simple. We just blink with our with our blink skill and we just spam our ice shot and enemies will explode because of our heralds, and we will deal a lot of cold and also lightning damage. In boss fights, how we play, actually imagine this map device is a map boss. We just cast our lightning rod as much as possible and then we cast Orb of Storms and it will automatically detonate this lightning rod, and we continue spamming this lightning rod to deal even more damage. So that's actually pretty easy to fight bosses in this build. We don't care about ice shot in boss fights. I'm talking now about fighting bosses in maps. But about Pinnacle bosses, we need to swap our blink for our cast on shock, so we can't use blink and cast on shock at the same time because of spirit. About spirit, you should have 190 spirit in this build. It's pretty easy to achieve this amount, but with cast on shock we have ball lightning, so we will automatically proc ball lightning when we will charge our cast on shock to 100%, and it's pretty easy to charge this cast on shock with lightning rod plus Orb of Storm setups. So in Pinnacle boss fights, imagine again this map device is a Pinnacle boss. Before entering the area we activate blink and activate cast on shock. The second what we do is we unequip our rings and equip a Thief's Torment ring, because it's pretty important in Pinnacle boss fights. We care about our mana, but we can't get it because we don't kill enemies. That's why we need this unique ring. It gives mana per enemy hit with attacks, so no killing. And the last thing we do before Pinnacle boss fights is we swap our primal armament with Scatter Shot for Lightning Rod, and we swap Martial Tempo with Rising Tempest. So we don't care about Ice Shot in Pinnacle boss fights, we care only about Lightning Rod and Orb of Storms, and your Lightning Rod should be with Primal Armament, Martial Tempo, Lightning Infusion and Concentrated Effect. So that's your setup. Before Pinnacle boss fight, you just enter the area, spam Lightning Rod, detonate with Orb of Storms and continue spamming Lightning Rod and continue using Orb of Storms. And you will get your mana because you attack the boss with attacks. Because Lightning Rod, it is the attack actually. So that's everything about bossing in this build. Let me turn off all of this thing and swap again. Now I will be talking about passive tree first, and then we will be continue discussing. First guys, I need to drink my water. So here's my passive tree. I guess I should start with my Ascendancy. It's Deadeye, and about my Ascendancy passives order, the first passive you should take is Gathering Winds for Tailwind. Tailwind actually gives a lot of movement speed, skill speed and evasion, so it's pretty strong. And I guess Deadeye is now the strongest Ascendancy. I mean the most balanced Ascendancy in PoE 2, so that's why we need to take it as fast as possible. The next passive in Ascendancy we should take is Point Blank. It gives more hit damage to targets in the first 3 meters, and this the short Ascendancy passive should be Endless Munitions. For skills, fire and additional projectiles. So basically we have 2 projectiles with our ice shot, but they will be forking, and it will be a lot of these projectiles, and it will actually proc heralds, and it will be big massive AoE. The last Ascendancy passive we take in this build is Windward. It gives less damage taken per tailwind, and it's like 30% less damage taken when we have maximum amount of stacks, so it's pretty good bonus layer of defense. About defense in this build, because like I said about damage, it's pretty a lot. It's like huge damage in this build, so I will not be talking a lot about damage in this build, because it's pretty simple to understand. We just run, we just shoot, and in boss fights we just cast Lightning Rod with Orb of Storms. But about defense in this build, we have a few layers of defense. The first one is of course our base evasion, but I don't have only 47% of evasion, but I have this amount because of this big passive Acrobatics. It gives can evade all hits. What it means? It means we can evade any kind of attacks, spells in this game, even AoE slams, AoE spells, and so it's pretty important the layer of defense in this build, because we can actually evade bosses and Pinnacle bosses slams, so it's pretty huge. But we have less evasion rating, that's why we should have as much evasion as possible, because it will be lowered by 70%. But I'm still good with my Wind Dancer. I have with my maximum stacks of Tailwind, I have like almost 60% of evasion, and in fight it will be even more. So it's our first layer of defense. The second our layer of defense is our Tailwind because of Ascendancy, and the third one is our actually Energy Shield and Grim Fist. Grim Fist, if you don't know how Grim Fist works, it has 50% chance to spawn a Remnant when an enemy or reviving minion dies in our presence. So when we kill enemies, we're picking up these remnants, and it can overflow our maximum energy shield actually. So I have almost 1000 energy shields right now, but in maps I have around 2000 of this ES, and it's pretty a lot. The next one is, I guess we're done with our explanation of defense in this build. About damage, we deal cold and lightning damage mostly, and now I will be talking about passive tree and items actually. So about passive tree, here's my passive tree. I discussed about my Ascendancy passives. Right now I will be talking a bit about my passive tree, not much, because you can actually copy my Mobalytics guides and my Mobalytics passive tree in the description, and as well I will add a leveling Fab Guns guide link in the description, because it's pretty easy to level this Deadeye. I actually leveled my character with this guide, so you will be fine. So about my passive tree, the only thing I want to discuss here is the only two things. The first one is why we should take exactly this against the Darkness Jewels. So you should buy the same. It should be with notable passive skills in radius, also grant gain 4% of damage as actual lightning damage, and while lightning, because we were fine with our cold damage because we use ice shot, but so it's easy to freeze enemies, right? But we should care also about shocking enemies. That's why we need to have as much lightning damage as possible, because your chance to shock depends on your lightning damage, right? So you should buy against the darkness with this modifier. And the second modifier should be with anything useful I have with +1 to maximum fire res, so why not? And the second thing on the passive tree I want to discuss about a bit is about attributes, which attributes you should take. Actually, in endgame you should have around 200 intelligence and about 200 dexterity, and strength should be around 40. So that's about attributes, so pick which one you actually need. About jewels, because we are on passive tree right now, I will be discussing about jewels. About jewel modifiers, which modifiers are the best in this build is actually increased attack speed, increased elemental damage, increased lightning damage, increased bonuses gained from equipped Quiver is pretty important in this build, because guys, I will be talking about it a bit later, but Quiver is the most important rare item in this build, so it's really this modifier is really huge. And the last pretty underrated modifier, but Febgun said about this modifier a few times, is increased damage with hits against rare and unique enemies. It's pretty huge because this modifier is pretty cheap, but it gives a lot of damage against rare and unique enemies, and we don't care about damage against white and blue monsters, but actually bonus damage against rares and unique is pretty cool. So about mana, if you still have problems with your mana leech in maps, you can buy a jewel with gain mana per enemy killed, and you will be much more you'll be fine. I'm sorry about this sound. The next one is, we're done with my passive tree, just copy it. The next one is items. Items, and you see that I use Widow Hail, this unique bow, and it gives increased bonuses gained from equipped Quiver. You should buy it with at least 245% increased, and it's pretty cheap bow. I bought mine for maybe 10 exalted orbs, and actually you should have increased elemental damage with attacks soul core equipped, because it just gives more damage. So because we use this bow, we actually care about our Quiver, and our Quiver should be pretty good. I bought my Quiver for maybe like 3 divines, and about modifiers, it should be with as much lightning damage as possible, or it can be with as much cold damage as possible, but lightning is much more better, and physical damage, because we convert our physical damage into cold with our ice shot anyway, is like 100% conversion. About base, it should be primed Quiver, because it gives increased attack speed, and I guess it's the best implicit here. About other modifiers, the most important modifiers on this Quiver is actually +2 to level of all projectile skills, because, as I said before, we have increased bonuses gained from equipped Quiver, so we have +2 level of all projectile skills, but because of this bow, actually it gives us +8 levels from actually our Quiver, and it's actually huge, +8 levels to our skill gems. So that's why this is the most important modifier on our Quiver. And the next modifier is actually increased damage with both skills. It gives a lot of damage, so flat lightning, flat cold, like one of those, +2 level of all projectile skills, and increased damage with both skills, as these modifiers you should be looking for when you will be buying your Quiver. And actually it will be much more convenient to farm maps if you have the same modifiers I do. Gain something mana per enemy killed. It will like actually affect your mana leech pretty in a good way. The next one I wanted to talk about is actually Aziri Disdain helmet. This helmet is absolutely perfect for this build, for this budget, because it's pretty cheap, like 2 exalted orbs or something, but it gives us almost 1000 energy shield, and it's pretty a lot. And also it gives bonus rarities, so why not? So if you have like the same budget as I invested in this build, this is the best helmet you can actually find. And actually I guess this is the best helmet for Deadeye I shot like overall. The next item is actually Amulet. We should allocate this Amulet with Doomsayer. It gives Herald skills have more area, more damage, because our Heralds is our main clearing aspect, and we actually care about our heralds, because the more effective heralds we have, the more AoE we have, the more damage we deal in maps, and the faster our character gets, and the more clear speed we have. So about modifiers and about this allocation, Doomsayer is pretty cheap. All the distilled emotions cost maybe like 6 exalted orbs total, so pretty cheap allocation. About modifiers, your amulet should be with plus to maximum life, plus spirit, and plus actually intelligence and strength, because I didn't want to care about this intelligence, so that's why about this attribute, so that's why I just decided to buy my amulet with 2 attributes at the same time, and it's pretty cool. I bought this amulet maybe for like 40 exalted orb, so it's pretty cheap. And I use my I forgot about this name. I use my catalyst for life right here to increase my maximum life modifier. The next one is body armor. Your body armor should be with plus 60 to spirit, or it should be like with plus 50 to spirit, but your amulet will be with more spirit. But actually, as I said before about spirit, you should have about like minimum, it should be with about 180, but it would be better if you will have 190 spirit. So spirit, maximum life, elemental resistances, and as much evasion rating as possible. And also it can be with evasion rating plus energy shield as well. It will be even better, but you will need to invest more. I bought this body armor for maybe like 45 or 50 or maybe 70 exalted orb, so not so expensive. The next one is our rare rings. About rings, it should have as much flat damage as possible. So lightning, cold or physical, or like lightning plus cold, or cold plus physical. So I mean whatsoever, but you should be targeting, I mean, bigger higher tiers, so more flat damage to attacks, and as well elemental resistances as much as possible. So, and here I have maximum life, but it's not actually very important. It depends on your budget, but here are two rings that I have in this build and I'm completely fine. The next one is glows. We use Hand of Wisdom and Action, unique glows. This glows is extremely cool for any Deadeye builds because it gives a lot of attack speed per dexterity and a lot of flat lightning damage to attacks per intelligence. So that's why we actually also care about intelligence in this build, because it gives really a lot of bonus flat lightning damage. And I bought maybe this one for 1 divine or something, so not extremely expensive. The next one is belt. I have pretty cheap and bad belt, but I just didn't want to invest more because I really wanted guys to make this build as cheap as like more cheaper that you can afford it, and you should find belt with maximum life, resistances, and if you can afford with some chaos rest. But if you have bigger budget in Unity, unique belt would be much better for your damage and resistances, because we have resistances on our rings as well. And the last item here is rare boots. It should be with 30% increased movement speed, or 35 if you are rich as fuck. Life plus to maximum life, and actually plus to maximum mana, because it will actually make our clearing speed and maps much more easier, because we can cast our lightning rod more often because we'll have more maximum mana. About rarity, it's up to you if you want to have rarity in this build. I have about 50% increased rarity, so like little bonus. You can have this modifier on your boots, and elemental resistances, so pretty easy to understand. Now the last one is charm. I have charm for grants immunity to freeze, but I guess cannot be stunned is better, but yeah, it's up to you. And so now we're done with items as well, and now I will be discussing about my skill gems setup. Actually, our ice shot is our main source of damage in maps, not in boss fights. In boss fights we don't actually use ice shot, but in maps we use ice shot with primal armament for more weapon elemental damage, with martial tempo for more attack speed, with fork to have more projectiles after hitting an enemy. It will like fork and it will deal more damage, and it has 50% less damage after forking, not before, so we are actually fine against the rares in maps. The next one is Ice Bite. It gives attacks gain 25% of damage as cold for 3 seconds on freezing an enemy, and we actually freeze enemies a lot, so that's why we actually permanently gain this Ice Bite buff, and it actually affects our damage in a pretty good way. And the last one is not necessary, but if you have 6 link, and you should target getting this 6 link as fast as possible, is as early as possible, and its inspiration, it gives supported skills have less cost, so we can spam our ice shot much more. So about damage types, we deal cold damage because it's ice shot. It's 70% of physical damage is converted to cold, and it has more magnitude of chill inflicted, but actually we have a lot of lightning damage as well, and lightning damage is pretty high rolled. I mean, it's a big gap between 2000 and 23,000, but on my passive tree we have lightning rod, the same name as my skill. We have lightning rod passive, and it gives lightning damage with non-crit hits is lucky. And what it means it will re-roll number of lightning damage we will deal twice, and it will choose the better number. So we will deal more lightning damage because of this passive skill, but it will not it's hard to it will not affect our DPS on our tooltip, so it's pretty strong. It's about ice shot. We deal a lot of lightning, a lot of cold, and we actually freeze enemies with our ice shot, and we actually shock enemies with our ice shot, and it's pretty cool. The next one is lightning rod. Lightning rod we use only against rare monsters and all of the bosses. So we use it with scatter shot to cast 3 lightning rod at the same time. We use it with Rising Tempest for 12% more elemental damage for each skill used recently of a different elemental type. So ice shot is cold, lightning rod is lightning, and orb of storms is lightning, so at least 2 elemental types, so more 24% of damage. The next one is lightning infusion, and it gives 25% of damage as extra lightning, but we deal less cold and fire. But we don't care about cold and fire because it's lightning rod, so it's basically lightning skill. So yeah, pretty simple to understand. And the last one is concentrated effect. Here it gives more area damage but less effect. We don't care about effect because we use it against rare bosses. It's just a free area damage. And as I said before, in Pinnacle boss fights, we just swap Scatter Shot with Primal Armament right here, and Rising Tempest with Martial Tempo right here, and we don't use Ice Shot, so here is your setup for Pinnacle boss fights. The next one is Orb of Storms. We actually don't care about it, basically its basic damage, because we need it only to proc Lightning Rod. So it will automatically proc this lightning rod, and it will automatically proc cast on shock pretty often. So Orb of Storms we use with overabundance for +1 to limit, so we will be able to have 2 active orbs at the same time. So yeah. The next one is Chain, to be able to chain them, right? And Unleash for be able to cast 2 Orb of Storms with 1 button when we have these 2 stocks, and yeah, pretty convenient to use. And the last one is Persistence. We needed to have more skill effect duration, because in boss fights we actually don't need to spam this Orb of Storms, we need to spam Lightning Rod, because Orb of Storms we need only to proc this Lightning Rod, so Lightning Rod is the main thing here. It's pretty easy to understand, I guess. I will just close all of this. The next one is Heralds. Heralds of Thunder and Herald of Ice. So guys, the main thing about Heralds in this build is Herald of Thunder is basically lightning, right? And Herald of Ice is basically cold, right? But with supported gems, we try Herald of Thunder to deal more cold damage, to actually inflict freeze, and Herald of Ice to deal more lightning damage, right? So in simple words, it works like this. So Herald of Thunder we use with Lightning Mastery, +1 to the level of supported lightning skills, with Glaciation, right? So Herald of Thunder lightning skill, but Glaciation is for more freeze build up, so it will affect our cold damage. We will freeze enemies faster. The next one is Cold Infusion, so it gives more damage as extra cold but less fire and lightning. So as I said before, we try lightning to make more cold, and we try cold to make more lightning. And the last one is Long Shots, just for more damage. So about Herald of Ice, the same thing. We use Conduction to have more chance to shock. So in Herald of Thunder we use Glaciation to more freeze build up, and in Herald of Ice we use Conduction to have more chance to shock, like cold skills, but more chance to shock, because anyway it deal a lot of lightning damage, and lightning damage actually affects our chance to shock. So pretty smart. The next one is Enerve. in weight, right? It gives 35% of damage as lightning, and that's why we actually on killing a shocked enemies, that's why we actually use it here, because we want Herald of Ice to deal more lightning damage. Magnified effect for more area of effect, because Herald of Ice works like a big explosion when we kill one enemy, and it's this enemy actually is placed in a big enemy pack. It will like explode, and it will deal a massive AoE damage, and all the enemies will be dead in just one click. So that's why we need to make this AoE actually area bigger. And the last thing is overcharge. It gives 75% increased magnitude of shocks inflicted with supported skills, and it means we will deal even more damage against shocked enemies. So we shock enemy first, and then we deal even more damage against these enemies. So I really hope, guys, you understand this thing about heralds, but it's pretty easy, right? So cold to lightning, lightning to cold, right? The next one is Wind Dancer, our bonus evasion rating. It gives more evasion rating per stage. So we have 4 maximum, and we use it with maim to always maim enemies on hit. And what maim actually gives, maimed enemies suffer from 30% slower movement speed and 15% reduced evasion rating. So pretty cool, right, in maps. And about blind, we actually have 100% chance to blind enemies on hit, and blind enemies have less accuracy rating and evasion, so they will deal less damage against our character, so it's like a bonus defense as well. Grim Fist, as I said before, it works like a bonus energy shield, like 2x. Like I have 900 energy shield right now, but in maps I will take this, I will collect these remnants, and I will have almost 2000 energy shield. So bonus defense as well. And I use it with Clarity for more mana regeneration rate, because like I have 10 free spirits, so why not? Bonus mana regen is cool. Cast on Shock, we use it only against Pinnacles. We just unactivate Blink, activate Cast on Shock, and as I said before, equip Unique Ring and swap 2 gems, but only against Pinnacle bosses, guys, so you shouldn't care about it. Cast on Shock, it will deal a lot of bonus damage with ball lightnings, because we will shock enemies a lot, and it will be like hundreds of this ball lightning firing against Pinnacle boss. So only against Pinnacle bosses, and only with a Thief's Torment Unique Ring, and with Primal Armament and Martial Tempo in Lightning Rod setup. So that's all about skill gems setup in this build, about items, about passive tree, Ascendancy, about how to solve your mana problems. You know everything you need to do actually in boss fights as well. And I guess it's pretty easy to like build this character, and I really love it. Don't forget, guys, to like this video, leave a comment below, please, and don't forget to follow my Twitch, because I will be progressing this build till a fucking absolutely machine live on my Twitch channel, so that's why you should follow for sure. And yeah, I did my best, and this build is actually gorgeous. Like I spent only 15 divines, but I can actually run tier 16 juicy breach maps without any issues and kill uber Pinnacle bosses with this build, so I guess you will like it. I hope you will like it, and don't forget about full guide in the description. And it was Raychich as always. Thank you so much for watching, and take care. Goodbye.